I ain't even mad. I ain't even mad, bruv. I ain't even mad. Prove it. I'm going to teach you a couple of things. Okay. Well, the thing is, we get a lot of theists coming through the forum, and it can be hard to tell because we get a lot of trolls. And if you haven't heard what a troll is, it's someone who comes on the forum and just causes trouble. And they often don't actually believe what they're saying. They know it's a load of crap, but they say it anyway. And the problem is, it's hard to tell the difference. Sorry, it's hard to, it might sound a bit rude, but no matter how someone tries to sound like, you know, this is obviously ridiculous what I'm saying, there's someone else who will actually believe that. So, you know, once we've explained something about 5 or 6 times to the same person, and they just keep ignoring us, we have to think, is this a troll or not? And it's hard to tell the difference, okay? Yeah. Right, so if you look at this diagram, I haven't got any fucking diagram. I haven't got any diagrams. Right. So we've got reality, okay? This is reality over here. And we observe it, okay? We look at it. We haven't got all the information about reality. We haven't now, we never have, and probably never will. We look at it, we say, what can we learn about it? Now, a long time ago, people didn't know fuck all about it. They just looked at it and went, oh, I don't know. You know, they noticed a few things. Oh, that's useful. You know, if I poke that in your eye, then you die or something. And, you know, and so anything they didn't understand was like, oh, look at that. I don't understand it. It's magical. It's supernatural. It's God. And then, you know, as science has advanced, actually, no, that's not magic. It's not supernatural. It's not anything like that. It's, this is actually how it works. And now today, it's like, oh, yeah, that's how it works. So, you know, has that gone from supernatural to natural? It doesn't make any sense. If all it means is you didn't understand it at the time, then you might as well just say they didn't understand it. Why say supernatural? And if it's natural now, but it was supernatural back then, it was natural back then as well. So how can it be supernatural and natural at the same time? That's just stupid. So this is what's called an equivocation fallacy. We're using the same word to try and mean 2 different things at once. It's very sneaky, and I need to do a separate video about that. Let's get back to reality. Here's reality. We try and make models of reality. We say, this seems to happen. When I drop a ball, it always falls down. You go, well, that's interesting. Let's see if I can model that. So I come up with like a mathematical equation or something like that to model it. Now, you know, whether or not things always fall down or how they do it, or how the reality works, that's the law of nature, how it actually works. What I write down is not the law of nature. It's a model trying to represent the laws of nature. And if it's good enough and it survives scrutiny, then it gets promoted to a scientific theory. So it'll be like the theory of gravity. And that will tell us how we think gravity acts. Now, if something doesn't follow our model of gravity, that doesn't mean it's magical, it doesn't mean it's supernatural, it doesn't mean anything like that. It means there's something wrong with our model. We haven't accounted for that. It could be some other factor we haven't taken into account. You know, let's say I'm some stupid idiot and I've just found out about gravity, right? And I'm just dropping balls and I go, wow, I've noticed, and I time it and it takes exactly the same amount of time, right? It takes like half a second to hit the floor every time. So the theory of gravity is when you drop something, it takes half a second to hit the floor. And I'll say that's natural law, right? And then I'll drop something else and I go, hang on, that took longer. That's supernatural. It's breaking the laws of nature. No, it's not. It doesn't fit in my model. And what that tells me is my model is inaccurate. And that's not surprising since my model was incredibly simple. So I'll go, hang on a minute, well, I'm dropping it from higher. Maybe that's got something to do with it. So then I'll factor that in and I come up with a better model. And I try that and then something else doesn't fit. And then I go, well, I haven't accounted. Sorry, I haven't shaved, by the way. I look like a bit of a mouldy maggot. Sorry about that. So we drop other things, you know, and we get better and better and we refine it further and further. So our models get more and more accurate. But at no point do we say these are the laws of nature. We impose them on reality. No, we don't get to do that. Reality could just change if it wanted. You know, it could just go, right, that's all wrong now. You know, you've got to do something else. Slogan does say, yes, but we tell you that that's how it works. Well, the point of having models is to help us predict things. You know, we model gravity and all the forces, everything else, electromagnetism and all the other stuff, quantum theory and that. We use it to model so that we can actually do it and do useful things with it. If our models aren't accurate, they're useless. So it's no good us telling the reality that our models are right when reality is showing us that they're wrong. So that's the difference. You know, you can informally say that, you know, our theory of gravity is a law of nature, but that's very informal and it's not accurate. So if you're trying to use that at the same time and say like the actual law of nature and call that the same thing as our model, then you're equivocating, using it to mean two things at once. So you want to call it supernatural because it's breaking our law, and then you want to kind of pretend that it's actually breaking the laws of real nature. No, they're not the same thing, are they? That's why it's called equivocating. If you're honest, you don't need to do stuff like this. You don't need to slide around and make words mean two different things. If supernatural just means unexplained at the moment, then why can't you just say it? Just say unexplained. You know, if that's all it is, why would you hang on to this word? Or at least just agree. I mean, yes, that's all it means. That's all I mean by supernatural is unexplained. Oh, okay, fine. You're just using supernatural for unexplained. No. You're trying to say there's something more to it than that. You're trying to say, no, this will probably never be explained. It's like, well, based on what? You'll say so. Based on who say so, even if it's everyone. What difference does it make? Either it's natural or it's not. So if in the future it turns out it was natural, but you say it classifies as supernatural now, that means it's natural and supernatural at the same time. So are you going to use the word supernatural, so that means that it could be natural, so it could just be natural and supernatural? What use is that? You know, just because supernatural's in the dictionary, it doesn't mean it's a real thing. There's lots of fictional things in the dictionary. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people just talk about this stuff without properly defining what it is. And you know, if you've got no one around there to stop you and say, well, hang on, what are you talking about? Everyone just goes, yeah, that's fine. You know, people just go along with it. When you stop and think about it, you know, how can you tell that something is breaking the laws of nature? Because all we've got is models of the laws of nature. They're pretty good. You know, you go back a few hundred years, you know, they wouldn't be very good. You could find loads of things that break so-called the laws of nature. They'd be breaking them all the time. But, oh, fucking hell, you know, that went wrong as well. It's not magic. It's not supernatural. It's just a lack of understanding. And there's a huge difference between that and saying, oh, it's nothing. It's different to nature. It's supernature. You know, that word is suggestive, very suggestive of magic and this, that, and the other. And the only reason you'd want to use that word and keep using that word and refuse to just say, oh yeah, it's been unexplained, is because it sounds magical and it points towards other things. If you just say unexplained and then go, see, that might be God, that doesn't sound so good, does it? If you go, it's supernatural and God is supernatural, so you're sliding about again. As I said, if you're honest debate, you don't need to slide about. You can define words to mean exactly what you mean, and you don't change between unexplained and never to be unexplained, and natural and supernatural, and the actual laws and models of laws. So I hope you've learnt something. I'm Rob, I'm the Angry Atheist. Goodbye.